I'm always cheering for you and pushing for you guys, I don't know. And I know it's tough, and then all this happens. So,
Yeah,
geez.
yeah, yeah. No question, no question.
But, man, it's pretty cool though. I mean, what I love about it is that you've been through everything and you've won championships. I mean, how awesome is that back at Florida and everything? And,
Yeah,
you know what it's like.
been very fortunate, and I think for me, obviously, you always got to keep things in perspective and where you are and where you've been. I got to Florida in 2002 and joined the team as a student manager. And that year was Udonis Haslam's senior year. Brett Nelson and Matt Bonner were both sophomores. David Lee was on the team as well. I mean, and I kind of went in to that group and started just, at the bottom and doing the grunt work. But to be a part of those teams and establish those relationships at such a young age, and then graduated, got my undergraduate degree, and Coach Donovan wanted me to stay on to get my master's. And that just so happened to be during the '06 years where we were national champions. And then he wanted me to stay on as his director of basketball operations. So in '07, we went back to back. And it was just, I look back at those days of even when I was a manager, and it was just some of the best times of my life. The friendships, the relationships you've built. Brett Nelson's now the head coach at Holy Cross. He was my roommate in college, and have remained very, very close ever since. So it was an unbelievable time. I'm always indebted to Coach Donovan for the opportunity that he provided me there at Florida, and it's the reason I'm sitting where I am today.
That's awesome. I mean, isn't it great though, how the network grows, and the people, and the friends you make, and then where they are, and that's why you treat everybody right, and with respect, because you never know. I mean, and now you have great friendships everywhere,
That's one of the things. I was doing a podcast the other day with a former manager of ours that's at Florida that has a podcast and a website now. And, he said, what's some young advice, or what's some advice you would give to young coaches or people trying to crack into the business? And, the reason I went to Florida Atlantic and spent 3 years there as my first assistant coaching job with Coach Mike Jarvis. And the reason I got hired back at Florida as an assistant coach back there was not because I was the world's best recruiter or the world's best scouter or individual instruction guy. It was because you had a really good work ethic and you treat people the right way, from the head coach to the managers, to the secretary, to the trainer, to the strength coach, to the administration, to the athletic director, to everyone. It's just treating people the right way and doing right by people. And I learned that from Coach Donovan, obviously, with the level of humility that he did his job. And it's just your network grows, but, just always keeping things in perspective and doing right by people.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. Same thing when I try to do when I'm at games, people in the truck, the graphics, the director, the producer, whoever it is, guys pulling cables, stats, whatever, everybody has a role. And if you don't treat them with respect and you care, what the heck are they going to do? Why would they want to work hard for you? You know what I mean?
No question. Yeah, no question.
I don't know. Maybe I want to hear from your perspective on the, being the assistant. You've kind of done all roles, right? I mean, director of ops, grad assistant, assistant coach, then you became the head coach, Chattanooga, right? And then you come here at UMass now. All the different roles and responsibilities. Let's just take it from the assistant coach to the head coach, right? And then how much you probably that changed your life when you got your first job there, right? I mean, is that a huge jump or what? I mean, what's that like?
Coach used to always tell me you don't know until you know, right? And, as an assistant, it's your job to serve the program. It's your job to serve the head coach. It's you have your scouting, you have your recruiting, your player development, and those pieces of it, right? But as a head coach, there's so many more things that you're in charge of and so many more things that come across your desk. And, I feel like being at Florida, working for a future Hall of Famer and seeing how he did it prepared me for a lot of things. But there's also some things that, you haven't experienced, right? Being the leader, being in the leadership role, having to make personnel decisions, having to make staff decisions that are always what's the best interest of the program, not what's necessarily the best interest for the head coach, but what's the best interest of the program. Those things are challenging. And as an assistant coach, you don't have to make those levels, those types of decisions. And I think that those different things are obviously challenging. You're not prepared for it until you're sitting in the chair. And obviously I've gone through a lot here since I've been at UMass and had to grow a lot as a leader and learn a lot. When I got to Florida, Coach Donovan had already established the culture, right? They had gone to the Final Four in 2000 with Mike Miller and Matt Bonner and Teddy Dupay and Donnell Harvey and all these guys. I wasn't there for that, right? I got there after the first Final Four. I didn't see when Coach got there and had to build it from the ground up. So the culture was set. And when you get hired or you come on to a team, you're adding to that culture, right? You're adding to it. You're serving the program and doing those types of things. And when you're the leader, you're in charge of the culture. And you got to set the tone with the culture. And I think that that's something that I've had to really learn and grow since I've become a head coach.
Yeah. What about like now at UMass, right? I mean, like you said, we just talked about it. I mean, I was there. I knew what it was like. We went to the Final Four. I mean, it's hard to. I hate with sometimes the extreme examples, right? You know, I mean, you went to the Final Four, you won championships at Florida, right? Everybody looks at that. It's like the extreme example, like, oh, Tom Brady was drafted in the 6th round. It's like, yeah, I know, the greatest quarterback of all time. It's like, it's tough because people have been there. UMass fans have experienced that. So not to say that we're expecting you to go to the Final Four next year, but I'm just saying, like, it's been done. So
right,
not even getting to the tournament, I know, like, irks people. It's just like, geez, can't even get to the tournament now. It's like, how difficult is this for you in a situation that you've taken in, knowing what has happened in the past and where it's at right now? And I don't think people understand, I guess, how many things you got to do to get to the level you want to get to.
Well, I think one, I look back to my interview process. You know, I got to Chattanooga and it was a completely different situation and scenario, right? You had a coach that had gotten elevated. He left Chattanooga to take VCU. And you had a group of guys, some of the guys that were in that locker room for my first team meeting, I was their 3rd head coach, right? So there was no turnover. There was nobody left. We had 100% retention. We had great leadership. We had high character kids. We had a team that wanted to stay together, and I came through the door and was like, guys, I'm here to help, right? I'm here to help you get to where you want to get to, and had 100% retention. And won 29 games and had a tremendous amount of success. Coming here was a completely different situation. It was right when I got here, there was kind of a revolving door of guys wanting their release and wanting to leave, which I understood. And it was a completely different situation that I took over here. So it took me some time. I couldn't approach UMass like I approached Chattanooga. It was just 2 different scenarios. I took the job ultimately because of the tradition, because of the history, and because of the relationship that I felt like I had or was building with the athletic director and Ryan Bamford. And those are the main 2 reasons that I took the job. But you had to approach them completely differently. And I had to go through some growing pains and learn that and kind of learn on the job, right? We won some games my first year that I don't think anyone expected us to win. Beating Dayton twice, beat Providence, beat Georgia. You know, we're very, very competitive in almost every single Atlantic 10 game. So you could say there was a sense of we overachieved, but our culture still wasn't where it needed to be. And I had to learn that and grow and go through that and approach. You couldn't approach UMass like you approached Chattanooga because they were 2 completely different situations. But you look at the history of our program as I sit here in my office and, you know, 2014, we've been to 1 tournament essentially in the last 21 years, right? So there's been a lot of turnover. There's been some roster turnover since I've been here. And I had to learn, okay, what's the most important thing? What are the types of kids we need to recruit here to UMass? And now we're sitting in a situation where 11 out of the 12 guys that are on scholarship right now are either from New England or went to prep school in New England. And to me, that's what's going to push us over the top is guys that really, really want to be here, that are going to take pride in playing for UMass. And when I got here, we had guys kind of from all over. We had Chicago and Mississippi and Memphis, Tennessee, and all these different places. And when you're trying to build a culture and you're trying to establish it, one of the things you got to get is guys that really, really want to be a part of it. And that's what we have now. And we made some strides last year. We had some great pieces this year. And we're in a place now where I think we can start to compete for those championships. And that was the goal when I took the job. Obviously, I wanted it to happen faster than anybody as well, but sometimes you got to go through very difficult times until you can get exactly where you want to get to.
Yeah, and then, you know, speaking of a difficult time, I mean, this entire year, you know, I mean, of everything that everybody's going through. So, you know, I mean, it's hard because now you got to, nobody wants to take a step back or anything, but it's like you can't really do what you were expecting to do or what you had maybe in mind, based on everything that's happening right now. So it's a little bit of a, it's even more of a challenge,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, Mike, I don't think any of us, we were on the floor on March 12th in the Barclays Center. It was the first time in 5 years UMass had a bye in the tournament. And not playing in that dreaded Wednesday game. We were on the floor. We were getting ready to play VCU. We had played them 2 weeks earlier and beat them in our gym. We were excited for the opportunity to play, and then we were out there on the floor, and we get pulled off the floor before the ball gets thrown up in the air. And I don't think at that moment in time any of us, right, envisioned where we would be now. And we got back to campus. Our players went home. We were on spring break then. And then we didn't see him again until August 10th, right, when they came back to move back on campus. So, I heard Doc Rivers say while they were in quarantine, is that you got to win the weight, right? We got to win. What can we do right now to prepare ourselves in terms of when we do get back on campus? I give our guys a tremendous amount of credit. Our players have been fantastic. Our staff has been great. As we've transitioned now to getting back, we got the protocols in place. We're getting tested twice a week to where now November 25th, we're tipping it up. And that was the message to the players the whole time. At some point in time, we're playing basketball, right? And we got to be prepared for whenever that comes. And you got to give our players a lot of credit for that.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, that's the thing. I try to come up with the things that I can do too personally, and then, helping others like, hey, what can we do to be better for when this does return and we're back to, you can't just be like, oh, now we're back. And then, jump, hey, let's make some progress along the way so we can go right into it and be even better than we would have been had this not happened.
No question. Yeah. And it's, when they got back, it was one coach, one ball, one basket, and then we could transition to groups. And then we could transition to groups and competing. And now Saturday will be our first 5-on-5 competing whole team in the gym together. So it's been a process. There's no question about it. But again, our guys' attitudes through this whole thing have been tremendous, and I give them a lot of credit.
Let's talk on the campus a little bit. I'm just kind of thinking now, again, it's hard because some people aren't there and this is a weird year. And it's like to even say anything about like fan support right now, because we don't even know who's going to be able to be there. But in general, you get 25,000 students there. I mean, we talk about the history and tradition, all that. Yeah, that's great. But like you mentioned, 21 years ago. So we got to talk about what's going on right now. I know what it was like. I mean, there was 9,493. That's the capacity of the Mullins Center every single game in that place. I mean, you've got to look around, and I think this. I know you do. It's there. They're going to come. They could come. It's not like we don't have the resources. We don't have the arena. We don't have the fans, the kids. I just, I'm wondering what you can do or what you're thinking down the road where, boom, here we go. Now we got the people like we were expecting to have here, and it's UMass basketball. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Well, Mike, I think, you got to win. Right? You've got to win, and you got to win consistently. Okay. I think our hockey program and Greg Carville and the job that he's done in the short amount of time that he's been here, he was the year before I got here. And I saw his second year, and you could feel that they were starting to gain some momentum and have some success. So fans started coming in, and then the next year they played for the national championship, and I walk into the Mullins Center and sold out. Right? They were having success. They're at the top of the league. You got to win, okay? And, again, change perception of UMass and basketball and doing things with our players, getting them out in the community and those types of things, the character piece that our players have, all those types of things are important. But the biggest thing is you got to win. You got to win, right? And we haven't done enough of that over the last 3 years. We started to make some progress, especially in A-10 play last year. And now, we're probably not going to have fans, right, this year. I mean, the Patriots game the other day was kind of eerie. They panned the crowd, and the only person that was in the crowd was Robert Kraft. So, I don't know what it's going to look like. We don't have those answers right now. But I know, having seen what our hockey program has done, I know once you start having success and once you win, they're going to come. The students will come. People from Springfield will come. From Hartford will come. From Boston will come. They'll come out to Western Massachusetts But the biggest thing is we got to put some W's on the board.
So I did your game last year at where was it, Mohegan Sun versus Virginia, and I was just very, very impressed. I know they pulled away there, at the end, but I'm like, this is the defending national champs, and I'm like, wow, what a great opportunity. It's my school, it's UMass, and obviously I'm objective when I call the game, but I'm like pushing for you guys, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, Trey Mitchell, and I see Trey Mitchell out there, and I said, okay, I know nobody's Marcus Camby. I can only go back to what I was thinking, but I'm like, this is a guy who you can really build around, and somebody who's like, okay, here's a difference maker. And I'm just excited, and I'm hoping with all the crap nowadays that, you keep Trey Mitchell and he is a success for you guys, and hopefully you can build around. I don't know if I'm speaking, to your language there, but what's your take on all of it?
I think the biggest thing, Mike, with Trey, and I've said this time and time again, he is such a talented player, right? He can do a lot of different things out there on the basketball floor. He can shoot it from the perimeter. He's got great footwork inside. He can score. I mean, some of the numbers he was putting up in our conference with getting doubled and triple teamed, and we were having success and winning games was remarkable. Yeah. But he's an even better human being. He's high character. He takes care of his academics. 3.5, 3.6 student. Wants to get a degree from the Eisenberg School, studying finances, motivated in school. He's got that piece of it too. And to me, that's what separates him, okay, is his ability as a player, but just his character and the type of person he is. He's the kind of guy you want to coach every day. You love being around him. So it's a joy. It really is. And an opportunity to be able to coach him every single day.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And you hope he will help you in bringing in the other guys and say, hey, listen, this is exactly the type of person we're looking for here. You have to have all those parts together. We're not going to deal with a guy who doesn't take care of his academics and do it the right way just because he's good. No, you sounds like you've got the guy that you've been looking for. Hopefully you can get more of a collection of people like that.
Yeah, and I think we've even started to do that. And we've gotten some of his teammates from his prep school that are here, and some of his AAU teammates that are here. And we've got a talented team, but again, the character piece is the piece that's been the most important, and it's helping change our culture. And he's at the forefront of that, no question.
Yeah. So now, what do you say, I guess, to the fans or people that do? You look at your roster. I know it's Woodstock Academy is the one you're referring to. Now you got the pipeline there, you got the connections and stuff. But what is that all about? How do you do that where you're getting the right guys? Yeah, they've played together each year. How do you describe that?
I think again, our staff, our coaching staff, our assistant coaches, those guys, and obviously them learning the type of players that again we talked about earlier when you're assistant coach that the head coach has a lot of success with, right? And Coach Bergeron has coached a lot of these guys. He's had relationships with them as well, but he's done an unbelievable job of figuring out too, okay, who can I coach, right? Who are the guys that, even just being around me for the last year, who are the guys that he feels like I can do the best job coaching? And the same thing with Tyson Wheeler and Lucius Jordan as well, them getting a feel for that, right? Like, who does the head coach really do well with? What types of kids? Are they high energy kids? Are they super focused kids? And again, the character piece for us has been vital. We brought in, Noah Fernandez on a transfer from Wichita State. He actually got a waiver this week to be able to be eligible right away. And when he went into the portal and knew that, those guys understood and knew, hey, this is a high character guy. That's a point guard. That's a leader that you're going to want as a part of your program going forward for the next 3 years, right? And it's no different than TJ Weeks or DeAndre Dominguez, Ronnie DeGray, Cairo McCory, Javon Garcia. He didn't go to Woodstock, but he went to Brewster, another high character guy. I mean, so your assistant's having an understanding of who does the head coach, who does he do the best job coaching? What are the personnel traits? And I think our coaches have done a great job of that.
Yeah, that's great. No, and I agree with you. I mean, if you can't take care of your area and the recruiting area aspect up there first, then, like you said before, was it guys all over the country here and there, and it just didn't seem to have any cohesiveness. I mean, you certainly have that now, so that's what
no question. I think, and even like you look at a year like this, right? Like we weren't able to come together until the middle of August. We're doing everything via Zoom. And you know, as a head coach, as a coach, you're like, all right, how do we get this team connected? How do we get them bought in? How do we get them connected? Right. Like you heard Brad Stevens last night, you know, talk about being a connected team on both ends of the floor. And it looked like the Celtics maybe didn't have that last night. Right. You got to be connected. Well, we've got a lot of guys that, you know, either played together, you know, in prep school, maybe last year, maybe 2 years ago, when it was Weeks, Fernandez, Trey Mitchell, Ronnie DeGray were all on that team. You got a bunch of guys that maybe played AAU basketball together. You've got Javon Garcia and Dibaji Walker, both from Columbus, Ohio, both played with each other at some point in their high school career as well. Mm-hmm. You've got Carl Pierre, a senior, with Mark Gasparini, both from the Boston area, you know, both high character guys. So that we've kind of got that cohesiveness and that connectedness going that as a coach, you spend a lot of time working on. And I think that's maybe where we're a step ahead of where possibly we would be with everything that's been going on.
Yeah, that's a great point. I don't think people understand like what it would take to get to that. And that sometimes takes months, years, you know, to get guys connected. So if that's already been in place, that you could bring them together. No, it makes a ton of sense. Now I'm looking forward to it. I know it's a crazy year. A couple more quick things. Like if you, like you just got word, obviously we all did, November 25th, start of the season. I mean, now you got to get your schedules kind of put together. Where are you kind of at with that? Now you just found out, but what you want to do non-conference wise, and then of course the conference is taking care of itself. But what are you thinking there? Like,
well, I think Mike, everyone around the country right now, you can feel it. You talk to other coaches, everyone like it's like scrambling. All right, we got to get our schedule set. We got to do this. We also got to take a deep breath because we don't know what every conference is going to do. Okay, some conferences have said we're going to 20 games. As of right now, the Atlantic 10 is 18. So if there's a 20-game conference and you play in an MTE, that gets you 3 more games. If you're playing against a Big Ten opponent, a lot of those teams have the Gavitt games and they have the ACC Big Ten challenges, and you've got opponents on your schedule you're supposed to play. Well, those games happen. We got to wait and see what the leagues do first. There will be games that we can put in place, but we have to see what the leagues do. Every state, there's different procedures with regards to COVID, right? There's different quarantine procedures. There's just different things. So you got to factor in that. I can tell you this, Mike, we're trying to do the best we can. And my working relationship with Ryan Bamford is extremely strong in terms of us for our non-league doing the best we can to stay local. Yeah. There's a ton of great teams in New England. Can we stay local and play the teams that are already on our schedule, figure out how to play those games as well, but trying to stay local because of our state regulations. We don't want to go somewhere and come back and have to quarantine for 14 days, right? So we're working through that stuff, but I think having a level of patience and say, okay, the A-10 decided they're going to do this. 18 games start December 30th. The Big Ten decided 20 games. Do some of the Power Fives go more than 20 games? We don't know. The NCAA came out and said this. Now every conference has got to come out and say, we're doing this. And then you can really piece together your entire schedule.
Yeah, patience is the word, man.
Because everyone wants to run around right now crazy. Right. And I got to schedule. No question we got to schedule. We got 67 days before the first game. Everybody's in the same boat. And everybody's trying to figure it out. So now the leagues have to make a decision on how many games everybody's going to play, and then we can build from there.
No, you're right, man. Especially like when things change in 2 days anyway. You know what I mean? It's like with football, we're getting ready for football. It's like, yeah, we're playing. 3 days later, it's like, no, now the whole league's not playing. I'm like, oh, now we're back. It's like,
it's a forever moving target. And again, you know, my mother was texting me last night, hey, are we going to be able to come to games? And I said, Mom, you're in Florida. You know, you're not going to be. I don't know that any. I said, did you watch the Patriots the other day? They didn't have anybody in the stands, right? And you go down to the state of Florida, and you know the University of Florida and Florida State, they're playing football games at 20% capacity. It's a different deal up here. So just gotta stay patient and take it day by day.
Yeah, you're like, come on, please stay down there, stay safe. You know, it's like for right now. Yeah, and so though I asked a bunch of other coaches this around the A-10 and others, but I just want to see your take on it. I mean, it's crazy. Everybody's got a varying level, but guys being able to leave without having to sit out and this transfer whole thing, and then also potentially guys being paid, you know, and I know that whole thing. Two very big topics, but where would you stand on those two things from your perspective?
Well, obviously, we wanted Noah Fernandez to be able to play right away. Last year, we wanted Debaji Walker to be able to play right away. So, it just seems like there's been a level of inconsistency with who gets a waiver, who doesn't get a waiver, how do you get a waiver, so I think eliminating that process is a very positive thing. But then, we've got academic progress rate, to leave school. So the school doesn't get dinged. You got to leave in good academic standing. And how does all that factor into this whole transfer thing? The grad transfers as well, that's been going on. But this person gets a waiver, but this person doesn't get a waiver. And that's not just UMass. I would feel that way for anybody out there. Hasn't made a lot of sense, okay? And they pick and choose who does. So eliminating that process to make it equal, I think is the right thing. I think it goes back to us as coaches. We have to make sure that we're doing a great job investing relationships each and every day with every single one of our players. It's going to be hard to bat 1,000. You're always going to have someone that maybe thinks they should be playing more and aren't, but I think you still got to invest in your players in each and every day. The name, image, and likeness thing, it just feels like that's something that's, again, that's been talked about, right? It's been revisited and I think if we can do it and we can do it in the right way, and so it's not just a free-for-all out there, but it's kind of equal across the board, and I know that'll be a challenge. I'm for it as well. I just think it has to be done in a way that it's done the right way, it's equal across the board. But if guys can have success, and while they're in college, they can make. I look at when I was at Florida. Joakim Noah and Tim Tebow. I was there with both those guys, right? So I can't even imagine the amount of money they would have made off their jersey sales at that point in time. It had to have been astronomical. So I want to be able to compensate our players more. I look at it too, like when you have a student athlete, or even let's just say you're fortunate enough to make the NCAA tournament, right? Not being able to pay for families to come watch their sons play in that venue, in that environment, that's a once in a lifetime experience for some guys, right? I even look at my year at Chattanooga when we were in the tournament, had all those families been able to go to Des Moines, Iowa to watch their son play in that environment. I think we got to figure that out. I think that we have to figure that out.
That's a really good point. You bring up some good reasons why it would be okay and why it should work. But the word I heard from you there was like equality and equal. And I'm 100% with you. If it doesn't do that, then all of a sudden we've opened it up to like the pro stuff where, oh my God, this guy he scored 20 points a game. I only scored 18. How come he's making more money? Like, that's ridiculous. We already know how bad it is with that. So I'm with you, and that you've kind of brought me on that other side that if it's equal, okay, I see it. Or if that money's being so that their family can go do this. Okay, I get it. But I'm sure Joakim Noah and Tim Tebow are doing pretty well right now anyway, right? It wasn't like they're not going to get their money. No, I know what you're saying, but it has to be, or forget it. The thing's going to be opened up, and that's all everybody's going to worry about now. It's like, well, he gets 20 million more than I do, and I don't even want to play anymore. Forget this. I'm leaving. Like, not cool. Right?
I just, the travel for these guys and their families, and the way the rules are set up to be able to go pick someone up from the airport, to be able to provide for families to be able to come watch their sons play, especially in conference and NCAA tournaments. And you look at the venues of some of these places, right? We play our conference tournament in Brooklyn, New York, in the Barclays Center. Hotel rooms are not exactly cheap, right? And I think that we have to, when we're talking about all this, I think that piece of it is extremely important too, because the last thing you want is for someone, for a mom, for a father, for a grandmother that's raised these guys to not see that or experience that environment, which is a once in a lifetime opportunity.
No, 100% agree, and I hope that is part of it. When all this kind of gets figured out. But and I'm with you. There was no consistency on who got to play. We would go back to the waiver situation, like, oh, he needs to go there because of his sick grandmother, and he can play right away. Or this guy had the same thing and he couldn't. Like, I think that's crap. But when you think about it, it's like, well, now we're just going to get rid of it at all. So now it doesn't matter. That kind of opens up a whole nother situation, right? Other things might be for specific legitimate reasons. Now you busting your butt trying to recruit a guy and hoping that you're going to have him for 3 or 4 years, and he just decides, well, I'm not playing, so see ya. Wait a minute here. You know, that's hurtful to you guys and the effort that you're putting in too.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so I feel for you there.
Yeah, no, it's no question a challenge. I think it goes back to, again, the relationships you got to build with all your guys. Constant communicating with them, I think, is vital. The environment, the culture that you have each and every day. I mean, I think all those things are important when it comes to that stuff. But it'll be interesting, right? It's 800 and so guys each and every year that go into that portal, and it's I think with this it's only going to grow. But again, I think we always, we're in this business to help young men, and we got to, whatever helps at the end of the day, can we help these kids? If it helps them, then I think we're all in for it. No question.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt, Coach. Thanks so much, man. It's
Absolutely, Mike.
I'm always cheering for you guys. I'm always,
Thanks, man.
when I get a game, I'm level, but I'm always looking to see UMass to pull off the wins, and I really do. I really mean it. I hope you guys have a great year, and I'm always following you. So all the best,
Mike. Thanks a lot, man. And if you need anything else from us, let us know.
Yeah, we
Hopefully we'll see you this year.
Yep, I'm looking forward to it.